I went to a school right outside of Richmond. It was called Randolph-Macon College. And so I grew up around here. I'm from Winchester, Virginia, which is actually not that far away from you. And I grew up there, went to high school all through my grade schools there, and then I went to college just right outside of Richmond.
And what subjects did you need to study?
Oh, to be a meteorologist is all about math and science. And it was a lot of physics based and it was a lot of math based. So those were the kind of things that I had to do. Once you get into college, and if this is something that you want to do, again, you want to take all the core classes of science and math that you can, and then it's more calculus, and then it's, you study more of the atmosphere dynamics and those kind of things. So you're taking a lot of specialized classes for meteorology, and they get harder as you go through school. But if you have your math and science core down, then you'll be fine. But it is a lot of specific towards meteorology.
And how long do you need to go to school?
You can do it in 4 years. So you can go to college. I did 4 years of college, and that was it. Some people can go on and get their master's, so that's another couple years of schooling. And some people are atmospheric, they can get their doctorate in atmospheric sciences, so that's even more. But to do broadcast meteorology, all you needed was the 4 years, and then you're out. In fact, all of us, everybody who works here, has just that 4 years. Nobody went to grad school.
And what was the most interesting subject you did?
Oh gosh, the most interesting subject. Oh, I would say my atmospheric dynamics class was really interesting because I was able to get, besides Meteorology 101, when I knew I wanted to do this, when you're just kind of learning about everything, once you get into the core, then you're learning about not only I know what works, but how it works and how everything relates to each other. And then you use your math. So everything that you learned up until that point, you're using pretty much everything to filter into this one subject. And it's just really interesting. And you got to find something that you're really interested in. If you really like meteorology, then you're going to thrive in this. If you really want to be a teacher, then you're going to find subjects that you want to thrive in for education. But for me, it was the science-based, any science classes, and anything I could do with the lab was just very, very interesting for me.
And what is air pressure?
Oh, okay, so we have high pressure and we have low pressure, and it's just really how much you can hold within the atmosphere. So when we have high pressure in charge, okay, we have it's pretty steady across the terrain. Only because there's no, I don't know how to explain this there's no movement within weather. We're not seeing any winds or anything like that. So right now we're waiting for high pressure to come in and clear all these clouds. When we have high pressure in charge, generally you can remember it like this. When we have high pressure in charge, which we do now, we see calm conditions. When we get an area of low pressure, and pressure's starting to lower a little bit, that's like a hurricane is an area of low pressure, or storms can be attached to area of low pressure. That's when we start to see the weather go on a downfall. So when high pressure's in charge, when anybody in meteorology says high pressure's in charge, it's a good thing. When low pressure's in charge, we're going to be watching for some storms. And that's why Wednesday, we were just talking about that in the Weather Center. We've got an area of low pressure swinging through, but it's going to go so quick. And when it's going to come through, we're not really sure when. So it's kind of a disturbance in the atmosphere. It messes up the constant. Okay?
And what inspired you to become a meteorologist?
I've always wanted to do it. My parents, my dad specifically, he always watched the weather when we were little. Always. Because he was in construction, so he always watched the weather. So we always had the Weather Channel on. And that in itself, besides how interesting storms are or anything like that, or how weather can, you get flooding, or you can get, it can create so much damage in just a small amount of time. That's what, it just intrigues me, just the science, the background of it, to really fall into this, besides the fact that my dad watched it every single day.
And for the weather satellites, how many weather satellites are in space?
Oh my goodness. Oh gosh, I couldn't even put a number on it. There's a lot. Now, they're constantly doing upgrades to them. So some of these satellites that we have orbiting the Earth, there's thousands and thousands of satellites. I used to have this picture in college that would show all of them rotating the Earth, and they're not all weather. There are different satellites out there as well, but I couldn't even put a number on it. But for us specifically, they just came out the other day that they're upgrading one of the satellites. So the return on it is we get better weather information. So for us, we look at models, and models, I'll show you in a second, will give us either picture or numeric value of what's going to happen over the last couple of days. So it's a lot of crunching numbers and looking at different things. Remember when we were in here and we just walked in and Alex, one of our producers, was looking at lines? Okay, did you see that up on the green screen, on the screen? That's one of the models. It's called Buffkit. So as they put more money into these satellites, they shoot back information that is going to be better for us in return. So each year, these weather satellites get better and better and better, giving us better information.
What tools do you use the most?
I mean, since the internet's now, I mean, when I first started out, the internet wasn't anything as you know today. So it was really slow. It was more of a guessing game, I guess you would say. You really had to apply science, and now it kind of takes some of that, and you really apply math too. Now you take that out from the day-to-day things, unless we're working on something that we really need to forecast for. But other than that, the internet is the best tool that any weather person will have now and over the last 20 years, because it's so easy to get data now. We can get it from, I can look, California right now and tell you what's going to happen. It probably wasn't that easy, 20, 25 years ago. So obviously the internet's the best tool. Besides that, just looking at, satellite, just in terms of where the rain is, what's going on across the United States. I know the general pattern. So I mean, for that, then I can just look at our radar and look at our stuff, seeing where everything is. So between that and the satellite radar.
And okay, how did you get your first job as a meteorologist?
Ooh, that's a good question. So my first job as a meteorologist, I was working in Richmond at a school. Between classes, I was working with a meteorologist down there at a TV station. I didn't want to do TV, but my advisor for college told me, hey, why don't you do TV? My wife works in TV, see if you can try it out. So I started working with this guy. His name was, he was chief meteorologist at a TV station down there. He knew somebody up here at Channel 5. So Channel 5, Sue Halka. So then I started working with her during the summers, and I would go back and work with him during the school year. And again, this is while I was in college. When I got out of college, I got a job at Channel 5, but I wasn't on TV. I was just a producer, kind of like how Alex is. Then I eventually found somebody who met me. It's all about networking. I got my first job at a startup station, which was in Winchester, Virginia, which happened to be my hometown. So I was there as their chief meteorologist for 5.5 years. Then I came back to Channel 5, and then Alex and them knew me, and then I came in here for a job, and then they hired me, and so that was 2 years ago. So that's how it all happened.
And what do you like the most about being a meteorologist?
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. So every day, weather changes constantly. So no day is exactly the same, unless we have high pressure. And if we have a week of high pressure, then it's sunny, and that's it, and it's really boring. But we thrive on very crazy weather, tornadoes or something. We don't know what's happening on Wednesday. We're trying to figure it out, but if this snow comes during rush hour, you guys might not have school, people can't get to work. So the idea of trying to figure out that mystery and trying to figure out, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? Because so many people are relying on us. That is so fun, because it just changes and changes every day. It's not the same 9 to 5 job. I got in here at 7 o'clock this morning, and if something popped up, I could not leave until, whenever it's finished. For the blizzards, we had blizzards a couple years ago. I worked 36 hours straight for both blizzards. Yes, I was sleeping at the station. So, because we were doing weather cut-ins we were cutting in to regular TV programming, every 30 minutes or so. So, with dangerous conditions like that, anything can change any given day. It is so great. It is just, it's not boring. And you get to work with TV, and we have TVs everywhere, so you can watch TV all day.
And what is your advice to kids who want to become a meteorologist?
To be honest, I think this is the best profession. I love it. But TV is a dying trade. So nobody really watches local news anymore. So people coming up, if they want to be broadcast meteorologists, it's going to be more website related by the time you get up there. Who knows if local news is going to be around in 10, 15 years. I think everything's going to the web, but if you want to be a meteorologist, I say go for it. But you can't expect for TV to still be there. It might be some other outlet. Or you could go work at the National Weather Service, or you could even work on top of a ski mountain. Those are so many fun jobs that you can do. You could work at a power company, although I think that would be boring, but you can work at a power company. But it's, I would say, you know, to do math and science, because girls need, especially girls, do math and science, and you know that is the way to go, because it is a fun job. But the advice I give you, just stay on track, and you know, really kind of figure out what you want to do. Make sure you do go to college. Got to go to college, and you know, just make sure that you are flying by and not, you know, getting lazy with grades or anything like that. You can't do that. You probably hear enough of that from your parents. But to be a meteorologist, keep your options open, because there's a lot of things that you can do with that.
That's all my questions.
That's all your questions? Oh, cool. All right. Say thank you. Okay. You're welcome. I'll give you a hug. You are awesome. Oh gosh. You're